This is the realest show out.
You did the opposite of what I think most people do. Sometimes it can be kind of scary to just put yourself out there.
That's real. That's raw. That's exactly what we're looking for. We look forward to connecting with you guys on all of our social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications for the next Gut Check Uncut. What's up, everybody? Todd Special here, co-host of Gut Check Uncut. Got B-Bisc in the house.
What's going on?
What's happening, man? So we got a pretty powerful woman on today, don't we?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, dude, she's an artist, a designer, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. She's on the Forbes Next 1000 and the top 250 entrepreneurs in the entire United States for Forbes artistry and designers to know. Partnered with Tile Bar in 2019 architectural design show in New York and won Best in Show for wall treatments. She's partnered with the Paint Institute, Janovic, on a line of Benjamin Moore paintings. She's been in the New York Times, Arc Digest, Entrepreneur, Elle Decor, Lux, and many more. She resides in Miami, Florida, originally from New York, I believe, and she has a podcast called Success by Design that you guys definitely need to listen to. So let's welcome Miss Elizabeth Sutton. How are you?
Hello.
I am great. Thank you for having me. That actually intro was amazing and exhausting.
Well, when you're cool as you, it gets kind of tiring when you go down the list, but that's pretty awesome.
I'm finally understanding why I'm so tired.
I'm sure that's only 10% of what you've done too. So,
Yeah, when you hear it on the other end, you say to yourself, because, I'm sure like you have your podcast, we get interviews as well at times. And it's nice hearing you go, man, I've done a lot of shit. This is pretty cool.
For me, the coolest part is that it's actually all been in the past 6 years. And If you look at my life where I was 6 years ago versus where I am today, I think that's probably the coolest part of it for me, because I went from being an Upper East Side princess housewife, married with kids, not working, cooking, and, doing that path to being a workaholic, single mother of two, and everything I've created, including developing my painting skills, because I'm self-taught, never painted before, has been in the past 6 years.
That's cool. That's really cool. So that's actually what I kind of want to start with, because we have some super powerful and super successful people from all walks of life and industries on this show. And we love to obviously talk about the successes, but unfortunately, on social media, stuff like that, people see a lot of the pretty pictures, quote unquote, and the successes, but people don't really see the hardship that got you there. And on this show, we like to kind of delve into that a little bit, just to give people an idea of kind of, not everyone is fed a silver spoon. Not everyone, came from tons and tons and tons of money and all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to hear just from your own words, aside from articles online and stuff, just kind of your story and how you came up to where you are now.
So the first thing is that even if you do come from tons of money, that doesn't mean that you don't have hardship in your life. Mm-hmm. And money does not equate to happiness or a happy life. Yeah. I grew up well, had a good life until my parents got divorced when I was 13. And then my father kind of went off the handle. And that's kind of like step one where my life kind of starts to get twisted. But I do love that you focus on the hardships and not just the pretty picture, because one of the things that I have, my world is on social media. My business started on social media, and I'm pretty, my kids are beautiful, tfoo. And the things that I create are gorgeous. Like, that is literally what I do. I'm a designer, but and I hate that that's what's translated through social media, because I actually think that social media has very detrimental effects on people's self-esteem, who feel like they don't have, and look at all those pretty people and look at all the money that they have. And actually, it's a very easy way for people to cover their suffering. I actually try and bring just that message to the table with my brand, even just with this painting that you see behind me, that actually the most beautiful things in my life came as a result of a ton of hardship. Within a 2-year period, I lost so many things and people. I got married at 21 in 2011. At the end of 2014, one of my best friends, Anna Maria, the day after sitting on my couch, she was hit by a bus and killed at 29 years old. My ex was a trust fund baby. He lost all his money just as I was having my first son, sat me down on a couch, told me We were living in a fully financed, multi-million-dollar apartment. We were seriously in trouble. The embarrassment of that financial loss literally gave my father-in-law a heart attack, cancer. My marriage was on the rocks. I then had a miscarriage at 12 weeks after my first son, and that was very devastating. And it forced me to reevaluate my life and realize that I was truly unhappy in my marriage. I always feared divorce and financial insecurity as a child from my parents' divorce. My parents took 7 years to get divorced. I no longer speak to my father at all whatsoever, which is a hard thing, to say. He's alive, but to me, he's not. And so after my miscarriage, I realized I wanted a divorce. A month later, I told him that. Later that night, I found that I was pregnant again. After a lot of therapy, I decided to keep the baby. A lot of therapy, thank God. But thank God for that therapist. Oh my God, I decided to keep my daughter. 10 weeks into that pregnancy, my father-in-law died. The next day, the day of his funeral, I bled all over. But I had another miscarriage. Didn't even want to tell my husband and family at the time. I was like, I thought God was playing tricks on me. Took myself to the hospital. Very complex pregnancy because of the stress. Was in this hospital 5 times. And then I had my beautiful daughter, and I left my ex-husband with a 3-week-old baby and a 2-year-old son. And we had no money at the time. We were in the middle of closing a deal. The second that deal closed, I got divorced in 6 weeks, no attorneys. I said I'd rather focus positive energy, making my own money, than negative energy, fighting over money I'm probably never going to find. And I knew from my parents' divorce that it didn't matter how much money you get, unless you're getting $1 billion as a divorced woman, you need to get yourself on your feet financially, not just for money, right? Even if you have the craziest divorce settlement ever, but for self-worth and healing, as opposed to, starting to focus that energy on a lot of negative things. So I knew I was going to have to be a workaholic animal and, let go of a social, personal life for some time. And I just started really hustling. And I left myself in a position whereby if I didn't figure out a way to make $500,000 in profit within 3 years from nothing, no money, I was going to be broke, dead broke. And 6 months after I left this is the worst thing that ever happened in my life. My best friend / art assistant was killed in my car leaving my birthday party. Both of my assistants were in the car. It was very traumatic, and it completely changed my life, changed my whole perspective on everything. I had been through a lot of loss. I also actually had volunteered at Sloan Kettering for months doing respite volunteer, and a baby I volunteered with died. That was upsetting. But my assistant who died in my car, that was special. He was my age. He had just left my birthday party. We were on a high on top of life. And 10 minutes later, they were in a fatal accident. One assistant was left with bleeding in his brain. One assistant ultimately passed away 36 hours later. It was my birthday party. It was just a lot of badness. It took down. So people ask me why it was so bad. I consider myself as not having a father for me, but this took down every level of my life. My personal life, he was a friend. I felt, guilty, even though I know it wasn't my fault. It was an act of God. Took down my business. My 2 key men in my business were down. I was now operating 3 studios by myself. My car was totaled. I lost a ton of money. I was messed up like something you wouldn't believe, seeing your friend's brain get drilled into with a drill, as if I was drilling into the back of my artwork with him. Problems. Okay. A lot of problems behind my pretty life.
Yeah. It's crazy to hear that because and honestly, I want to say this where it comes out properly, but listening to that is also very powerful, right? Because there's a lot of people, and you said something because, I've had therapy. I know, it's very important to have people in your life that actually kind of help guide you. I believe in it. I know it's a massive help to a lot of people, but it also says a lot about who you are, right? Because there's a lot of people that I think that type of trauma in their lives would have just crushed them. And you chose to just keep going, and you chose to keep moving forward and concentrate on stuff that's very passionate. Seeing you on social media is great. Listening to to you tell that story is so much more powerful because you have so much good stuff on social media. You're very, very, very active in how you feel about things. And I love that, right? Just the passion that comes out of you. How did you make the move? I mean, I know you have a 2-year-old and a 3-week-old baby and you just go out on your own. And I know it's very tough. And a lot of people say, well, I did it for my kids. There's a lot of people that don't. How did you move past all that? I mean, that's massive trauma. And look at you today. And again, I can tell anybody that's listening to this and not watching it, you're going to do extraordinary things. I mean, we had, a little talk before the show about things that you're doing that obviously you'll release in due time. But you're doing extraordinary things. How do you go from that type of trauma to being the extraordinary woman you are today and use that as strength rather than let it take you down?
So I actually truly believe that our worst experiences are our best opportunities to teach us growth and perspective. I had a very privileged life when I was married. I had a lot of money, pretty things, and I wasn't fulfilled and I wasn't happy. So what did that mean? Right. And now having that amount of loss taught me what's really important. And so I focus my energy there. I don't let toxicity in my life. It involves a lot of healing because you're right. People who do go through that amount of trauma, they end up down and out. And I'm a winner. Winners win. Okay. I've unfortunately had to be, a survivor my whole life. My parents' divorce was actually highly traumatic. My father, got married while my parents were still legally married, and one day and just called me and said, I want you to come over, meet my new wife. He became a religious zealot. It was messed up, but it forced me to, I had trauma from young. So I guess I built resilience. I healed it. I could be a terrible person who is angry at the world and why me? Why did this happen to me? But saying any of those things is not going to get me past that point, right? It's going to leave me exactly where I am. And so many people are afraid of change, whereas they need to shift their thinking into saying that change is positive. It involved a lot of healing for me. I definitely do heal a lot through my work, through my creativity, through my achievement, but also through actual therapy. After that, I've been in all sorts of therapy, but the most integral therapy that I was in was my grief counseling after that car accident, because I really did have trauma and PTSD. And the thing is that it takes hard work, right? It's actually the hardest work I do. For the first 2 years post-divorce, I spent every single dollar, because good therapy is expensive, instead of buying shoes and clothes and bags that don't actually make you feel better, maybe for a hot second, but it's not going to help you. Trust me. I spent it on therapy, and I spent probably $40,000 on therapy in a span of 2 years, plus a lot of my time in intensive grief counseling. And had I not done that, I would be seriously messed up. And spending the time in grief counseling to fix, the trauma from that car accident ultimately led to me working on other things from my past, such as my abandonment from my father, my parents' divorce. I've been sexually assaulted. I've been raped. I've been bullied. I don't find those things to be shameful. I think a big problem is that people feel ashamed of those experiences when they shouldn't. First of all, they happen to people all the time, right? It's just taboo to speak about them in society, which is one of the reasons I'm so open about it, because I believe that there is strength in vulnerability. And, my biggest thing that I try and preach in my career and how I've helped myself and why I'm going far is about healing. Okay. When everything in life is a cycle, I have learned in my, I'm 31 actually, but 31 going on 60, that why did my father harm us? Okay. He loves me. Trust me. My father didn't mean to hurt us. My father was abused as a child. Okay. He never healed that. So he took that abuse into his future. Now, we all have our problems growing up, but it's our responsibility. Our legacy is the energy that we emit onto this universe, right? The deeds, the acts of esteem that we put into this universe, because every action has an inverse reaction. What is it? Mm-hmm. What's that?
Yeah. No worries. Every person has an inverse reaction.
And, if I didn't heal all my suffering, I would continue that suffering onto the universe. And that's what I would pass to my children and my friends. And I don't want to leave. I want to leave this universe with good energy, happy energy, healing energy. And that's why, like, when I talk to my friends and they're telling me, but he needs to change and they need to change, and the answer is actually, no, you need to change, because you can only control your actions. And if they might need to change, but if they're not willing to do so, you're the one that needs to make the change, because that's a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If they're not going to change, you are the one who has to extricate yourself from that toxic situation. It doesn't matter if it's your brother, father, sister, mother, best friend. When something is toxic, you need to forgive it and get it out, because it's going to trickle into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I literally, I don't know about you, because a lot of our show is about business and regulation and sales and motivation. And we dive into the heart. That's a real gut check. You know what I mean? It's not a plug for the show either. It's a true gut check. I mean, I think I know the strength that you have and how you speak. You get so passionate, which is who you are as a woman, but more importantly, the world needs to know that it's okay. And I love that message, because as you spread that message, more people are going to look. I've been under the understanding that if I do anything in life and it touches one life in a positive way, it's a win, right? So you are touching thousands of lives. So I thank you for that. I mean, going through what you did and then giving this advice is it's not only tactical, but it's intelligent in a way that people will take everything you're saying and go, I can do this too. And I think that's really, really important for people to hear.
Yeah. I mean, vulnerability can be strength. I mean, it's stronger, guys, masculinity. I don't want to cry in front of people, shit like that. It's stronger to show that emotion and vulnerability than it is to not. And I just think being open as you are about, your hardships in your past, and you're extremely well-spoken, extremely strong presence of a woman, which I love. You give off that amazing energy. And I think it's amazing for people to see, aside from the business aspect that you're extremely successful in, that we'll talk about, you're an extremely strong person, and you decided to use a lot of those hardships almost maybe inadvertently as a tool to kind of help you succeed and pass that strength along to your kids and everything like that. So it's admirable, I will say.
I mean, they are literally what have made me successful. That's why I say, every experience that we have is a matter of how we look at it and what we learn from it. You can either say, okay, this bad thing happened to me, I should lose faith in God, or this bad thing happened to me, I need to lean on my faith more and learn the right lessons, right? So I do think that there is actually strength in vulnerability. This whole macho thing is, I've seen very often, a facade to cover up a lot of insecurities. And I love myself. I know who I am. I know what I do. And, I think it's important that people understand that everyone has problems. This world of social media that makes it very easy to showcase a pretty picture when mostly people are suffering. That makes other people feel bad about themselves. That's not reality, and people need to know that, and they can forget, because it's very easy to forget in these days of screens,
Yeah, no, it is.
But also, I actually use business. I use my work as a coping mechanism, to be honest. There are actually tools for coping mechanisms, right? I've learned through therapy that we actually have behavioral patterns. There are actually tools to build resilience, positive coping mechanisms versus negative coping mechanisms. And for me, my work is definitely a positive coping mechanism. I probably take it out of control sometimes, and I'm definitely in need of a little more balance, but I can be doing a lot worse things. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, that's all sure. Fact. Well, instead of worse things, let's talk about the good stuff in your life. Tell us how you used to put a lot of the paintings in apartment complexes like doorways and just leave them there so people could ask where they come from. I mean, that is genius. I mean, what a way to get your art out there.
You just cut out. Tell me how, what? I'm
sorry.
Apologize.
Yeah. So you used to leave artwork in the lobbies of apartment complexes. And we saw this and it was like, man, that's genius. I mean, how cool is that? You just leave a piece of art there. You're starting from scratch. Nobody knows Elizabeth. So that's cool as shit.
Well, actually, so first of all, my career literally started as a happy accident on Instagram. I told you I was an Upper East Side princess housewife. We lost our money. when I realized I needed to start working, I thought I was going to become a chef, private dinner hostess. And I was in the middle of a very fancy renovation on my son's nursery, and I had a specific vision, and I hadn't purchased the art yet, and I couldn't afford the art that I wanted anymore. So a friend came over one Sunday and we painted, and I put it on my wall and put it on Instagram, and somebody sent me a DM saying, "Hey, I love your art. I just moved. Can you make me something?" And I said to myself, a little bit of time, a little bit of money, why not? And over the years, I had done some arts and crafts, and it was on my wall, and people would come to my apartment asking if I sold it. And I said no, because I didn't need the money. I hit them up. I asked them. Some people said it was interesting. They were still interested. And then I left that artwork in my lobby, actually, not in other people's lobbies, in my lobby, just to pull my car around. But within like a 5-minute time frame, 2 people saw the art, asked the doorman. And again, with business, and I think a thing that people really struggle with is learning to ask for help. Mm-hmm. Okay. There is absolutely no shame in asking for help. Everybody in this world needs help. And if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get anywhere. And in fact, my first mentor ever, Christina Dolan, who used to be the president of MIT's alumni board, told me that I was going to be successful because I was not afraid to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So basically, I grew up with a lot of real estate babies in New York, and I hit them up and I said, "Hey, Jack, can I put up my art in your your model apartment? Hey, John, can I put up my art in boutique?" Okay. Hit up all the people I knew, and some people said yes, some people didn't answer. And, the ones who answer and are willing to help are the right opportunities. And when you ask for help and you don't get it, you shouldn't let that deter you from asking again. It just means that it left the right opportunity for help open, and that was not the right opportunity. So then I got a call from Ryan Serhant, who knew me from like more social circles. And he knew I did art, and he asked me to stage one of his luxury projects. And I told him, sure. He said, "I need 12 pieces in 3 weeks." I said, "No problem." I had no art to give. I was not even an artist at that time. I was literally at the airport going to Costa Rica with my family, and for my son's first birthday, I put up an ad on Craigslist from the airport saying seeking art assistant. The first thing I did when I landed back in New York was interview him. I said, "I hope you're not creepy and weird because you're coming to my multi-million-dollar apartment with my baby." And he is still working on my team today. His name is Mike. We painted on my dining table for 3 weeks straight. I developed a lot of like my techniques. They're still my work. And that is quite literally how my career got started.
That's so cool. Were you, cool. So like,
I love that.
Was it like something like art was like always, it was just kind of a hobby that you like to do yourself and then it accidentally turned into a thing? Or is it, would you look back and say, yeah, I always wanted to be an artist? Like,
first of all, I laugh at that because it went like, I joke with my friends. I have 2 best friends from like kindergarten and 3rd grade. And I said, "Do you think it's hilarious that I became an artist? Because it's so funny. I should be like an attorney." But I had never painted before. No. So I actually, the only artistic thing I did as a child was scrapbooking. And I guess I took that craft into my art because my art is very technical, but I had never painted. And the only like arts and crafts I did, basically when I got married, I was so bored because I wasn't working. And I dabbled in collage and I just did random art projects. I've always been into, culture. I grew up in New York City. I love museums. But I had literally never painted until October 2014, I think is the first time I ever picked up a paintbrush. So no, I had no idea I was artistic.
That's so cool. I mean, it looks like you got a ton of different categories of art here. It was animals, geometrics, florals, landscapes, portraits, quotes, butterflies, signatures, quote lines. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, I love one of the favorites that Brandon wrote down is you put life is fucking complicated. Okay. I love that. Right. Cause it is. I mean, I literally had a conversation with a friend today and I was like, man, I don't know if you watch America's Got Talent, but this girl had cancer on stage and she got up on stage and she says, you can't wait for life
to not be hard
to be happy. Right. Yeah. And I was like, that's what it is, right? That's what life is. And she had cancer. She still does now in her back and in her lungs and in her thigh. She has cancer all over her body, but she stood up in front of this massive stage. I love that. Tell us a little bit about Life is Fucking Complicated. I mean, we know your story, we know what it is, but why did creating something like that in that piece mean so much to you? Because I love it.
So I have a whole body of work, especially my Idiom series, that stemmed from that car accident. You know, I have a quote that says, life is precious. Be true to who you are. There are longer quotes that you can look up. But sometimes some of these cliches like this too shall pass and blessing in disguise, they really are real and they do apply. And I think that society tries to, at least where I come from, you know, I grew up very traditional, conservative, modern Orthodox Jewish. And I was definitely supposed to go down a certain life path and fit a certain mold. And I think that society needs to stop having people fit inside certain boxes, check off certain boxes. Life is not black and white. There are so many areas of gray. And I realized that, you know, through life experience that, you know, life is very complicated. Everybody has their truth. Everybody understands, you know, you can have 5 people be in one circumstance and every single person will have a different understanding of that circumstance, right? And then we're all supposed to, you know, function in an ecosystem where we're really coming at the same situation from different, you know, viewpoints and experiences, right? Because the way we interpret situations is a product of our formative experiences, right? So it's very hard to get so many people speaking the same language. It's very hard to understand what lessons you're supposed to learn sometimes from certain hard experiences. And life is fucking complicated. It is. And anybody who says it's not is not fully even enjoying life, because it means that they've had it too easy, that they can't possibly understand just how blessed and fortunate they actually are. Amen. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes 100% complete sense. I mean, one of the biggest things for me, and I say this a lot is you know, did we lose you? Are you there?
Hello?
Oh, there. It looks like you're coming back. That's all right. We're editing this. We'll edit it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But, you know, one of the biggest things for me, I'll be honest with you, is it is fucking complicated. And gratitude's a massive thing in my life, right? I think, you know, I've said this a multitude of times, but a lot of things happen in your life that are good. And then it takes one bad thing to happen in your life to forget about all the good shit in your life. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of society does, is like they constantly concentrate on the negative rather than the good. The way to thrive in life, in my personal opinion, is like, man, there's so much that you're blessed to have in your life. There's healthy children there. You have clothes on your back. You have food to eat. So many people are in a much worse position. So I couldn't agree with you more. There's a lot of people out there in today's world that just don't understand how good they have it.
Well, I actually have a painting that says gratitude. And in fact, like I mentioned, think that we need to express gratitude for our struggles, not just for the good things that we have. And I actually am a super faithful person. I grew up religious. I wouldn't describe myself as religious at all, even though I am very traditional. I'm so spiritual. I lean on God for everything. And I actually make my children express gratitude pretty much on a daily basis. And I do as well, and vocally and out loud. And, you know, I pray to God every day. I make my kids pray to God every day. And if you really heard my kids pray, you'd be very impressed. But, you know, I kind of have an order of operations for my prayers. And I, you know, start by, thank you, God, for making me healthy, giving my 2 amazing children, blessing me with beauty, talent, intelligence, friends, family, strength, resilience. But I then, you know, always thank God for my hardships and ask God to, you know, let me understand the lessons that I'm supposed to learn from that hardship and take away any, you know, bad or evil inclination that experience might have, you know, brought into me to make me better, you know, to give me the strength to overcome it and always be better and always be improving. So I actually especially thank God and express gratitude when I have hardship, because it's easy to be grateful when things are good. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a lot harder to be grateful when things are bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You have kids and I have one on the way and I have a almost 4-year-old son. And thank you. And, you know, I always, you know, my wife comes from, everyone's got issues, but my wife had a very good upbringing. I didn't have a bad upbringing, just wasn't as wealthy as her growing up. And I sit here and luckily we've got a lot of things that we're doing that have made us extremely successful and we're blessed. And I think, okay, well, I hope in a way I say, I hope my son grows up in like the most perfect environment possible. I want there to be no issues and I want to give him everything I didn't have and stuff like that. You know, I'm just dad mind, I guess. But, you know, there's another part of me that goes, well, I mean, shit, man, some of the struggles that I went through or my friends went through or whatever have almost molded them to be stronger, to be more successful in life. So it's weird. Like as a parent, I kind of think in my mind of like, how the hell do I balance? Like, I don't want to make anything too good for my kids, but you know what I mean? It's like, I want that balance so there to still be struggle for them.
So I actually treat my children like adults, and I understand where you're coming from, wanting to protect their innocence and shield them from things. I happen to have very brilliant children. My son just got 138 on his IQ test.
Nice. I love that.
Congratulations.
Mensa style, but my daughter's also brilliant. And I actually do not believe in sugarcoating things for my kids because I don't want to raise weak children.
Right.
Okay. I don't want my kids thinking that this world is easy. Okay. I do intend, and again, money is not everything, but I do intend on providing my children with a very, you know, luxurious and privileged life. And they better know just how lucky they are. You know, I grew up in such a wealthy community and I never fully understood just how blessed I was to have all those things because everybody around me had them too. And it wasn't until I got to college that I was like, it really opened my eyes. And I do not want my children growing up not realizing just how blessed they are. And, you know, my kids have been dealing with resilience since they're born. My daughter was born literally as I got divorced. So they have that, but my ex and I do think provide a very strong foundation for them as a divorced couple. And we do our best to put our differences aside for our kids, but I don't want to use like a not nice word, but pussies. Like I don't want to.
You can say it. It's okay. You don't want to raise a bunch
on this
of
show.
pussies.
You can say whatever you want, Elizabeth. Yeah. Just say it. That's great. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like it's not politically correct, and I'm kind of feminist, and I like peace, so I feel like that. But I'm not PC. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't want to raise little weak children. Okay, I want to raise children that understand just how hard the world is. If, thank God, they haven't experienced certain hard times, then they are very grateful, but that they should know that they exist, and that if they've been blessed without those, that they should help those who do have those problems.
I think it's a great plan because, I mean, look, there's a lot of people, like I grew up very differently than Brandon or Melissa or other people as well. I grew up in a really, really rough environment. I grew up in upstate New York. I know you're going to tell me it's not real New York. I get it. But but it was Rochester. I grew up in Rochester and I had the most love in my family ever. See, I was a lot different. My mother and father loved each other like no one's ever loved anyone. My dad passed away in 2017 and my mom still every day misses him to death. They had that kind of love, right? So for me, I think, you know, you got to experience some sort of loss or know about it, right? So in your case, you experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of tragedy. Brandon, you know, says he has, but he's had his own hardships as well. We all have had our own hardships. I get it. But I think experiencing that loss is what allows us to be resilient, right? Because a lot of people that have that privileged life their entire lives, like you just said, that haven't experienced that type of loss, it's hard for them to understand. For instance, in yours, you grew up in a wealthy area and wealthy people around you. And then one day you lost everything and you were like, oh shit, life isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be or as it had been. So then you just got off your ass and you created something magical. That takes strength, power, and resilience. A lot of people, unfortunately, these days aren't like that. I mean, it's the get rich quick scheme, right? Like all these millennials, these people say, hey, man, I can get rich quick tomorrow. I'll have a meeting, you know, with the richest person in the world. I'll become a millionaire. It ain't that easy. So you have to experience loss at some point. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It doesn't have to be this, but you do have to experience loss, in my opinion.
Even if you do become a millionaire, that's not going to make you happy, right? So like, money doesn't buy happiness. I was rich. I was not fully happy because I was missing a lot of other things in my life. So first and foremost, to me, I don't define success just by money. I define success by the fact that I love myself, I'm fulfilled, I am proud of who I am, of my character, of the, deeds that I, emit into the universe, of my children. Yes, of course, I'd love to achieve financial success and security. One, so I can have a, nice, luxurious life and travel the world. Two, so I can give back. I am very charitable. But one of my favorite articles I ever read, I think it was when it was in the Wall Street Journal, is that 75% of the most impactful people in the world on both an activist level, on a financial level, on a career success level, experience some type of serious trauma in their early childhood that basically enables them to build resilience in their lifetime. And resilience, I've learned through therapy, is actually it's a muscle that we build. It's a tool that we build, and it's built in reaction to struggle. So, I had a lot of, my parents' divorce was messed up. I then went through some very, terrible, toxic relationships in high school. I was bullied all the time by girls, girls threatening my life, sexual assault, a bunch of stuff. And, it wasn't until later on in my life that I started to realize that not everybody has those things. I thought that was normal. But then I learned in therapy, for some people it is normal, for some people it's not. But those experiences actually cause us to have certain behavioral patterns, for better or for worse. And some are for better, like resilience building, but some are for worse. Like, I'm sure the reason I have not had a successful relationship in my life is because of, my experience with my father. And I wasn't fully aware of that until relatively recently after, the car accident. I was in intensive therapy. And I realized that I had developed behavioral patterns as a result of, my relationship with my father that I brought into male relationships that I now needed to actively work against to fix them because they weren't healthy. And so the things that I found comfortable were actually super unhealthy. And the things that were healthy, I found very uncomfortable. And so I actively need to fight that. And if I don't work on recognizing those poor behavioral patterns and actively changing them, then I'm still not going to find success in that area of my life. So, it does actually require a lot of work on yourself. I only know this because I have good therapists, right? I'm self-aware, but I am not a psychologist. I never studied this. And I was only made aware of these things by some really amazing therapists. Shout out to Debbie Mizrahi, who was my grief counselor, and shout out to Dr. Ian Kerner, who just launched another book, who is my, helps me work on, my male relationships because I was so messed up. But that's what I learned, that it takes a lot of hard work to always be getting better.
For sure, 100%. So speaking of hard work, I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to kind of talk about your business a little bit. So when, I know we kind of talked a little bit about how, a lot of crazy shit happened. All of a sudden people are saying, hey, can I buy your paintings? And you're like, I don't even know if I'm a fucking artist. And now all of a sudden you've got interest, right? And you're starting to realize people like your stuff. And so take me from, so you're there to where you are today and what you've built, kind of what have been some keys along that path of scaling to where you've gotten so far?
Okay. So I'm going to start by saying that when I began my career, I had no clue can I curse?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck I was doing. None. I just knew that I had to get out and make moves, but I had absolutely no training, even though I studied marketing and finance. Honestly, the stuff that they teach you in school is bullshit. It's like zero practical.
You're not my hero.
100%.
We are meant to meet.
I'm a finance graduate. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So.
I'm a zero graduate. I have zero school. So
it didn't teach me anything practical, right? And so I had no experience. It was all hustle and no actual experience, which was a kind of a problem. So I'm going to tell you where I am now versus where I was then and how I kind of got there. When I left my marriage, I knew that I needed to make a ton of money and selling fine art at the time, my art was selling just for a few grand. Now my average piece is like $15,000, but anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 for original artwork. I said I wanted to go into consumer products. I needed to do something that was scalable. My fine art takes anywhere from 40 to 400 hours. And I was an intern for a fashion company called Parker throughout, my college career. And I basically wanted to apply their model of, strong bodies and prints to home decor. And when I left my marriage for the first time, I hired a graphic designer, mocked up this huge collection of, plates and cutlery and home decor because I wanted to bring that aspect back into my life. I was a glorified housewife. I love to entertain. Nothing makes me happier than setting a beautiful tablescape. So together with this woman, Barry Erber, she owns a little girl fashion accessories line, actually the largest luxury girls accessories line in the United States, called Barry Lynn Accessories. She was helping me get samples made. I was putting the very little money that I did have into this. And then the car accident happened. And when the car accident happened, my life completely changed. I lost a ton of money. I was super messed up in the head. And so that endeavor really came to a halt. And the way that I coped with the car accident, because actually at the same exact time I had a boyfriend completely betray my trust, and I was like so devastated. I was a numb person at that moment in my life, like the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. I don't know what the hell I was, but I was still having to be a mom and figure out how to make money because otherwise I was going to be broke. But basically I just hustled. I told my interns, I didn't even have a full admin assistant at that time. I just had interns. I said, do not let me stay in bed for 1 minute. Make sure I am working, because otherwise what am I just going to do? Cry all day? What the fuck is that going to do for me?
Yep.
So long story short is that I created a bunch of different collaborations, but they had no thoughtful plan. I did a collaboration with Joe and the Juice. I designed all their coffee and juice cups for 17 retail locations in New York City for a limited edition run. I did a collection for Barry Lynn, and my designs got picked up at Saks, Neiman's, Nordstrom's, Harrods, Bergdorf's bestsellers. And in fact, Bergdorf's used my clutch designs in their Christmas campaigns for their holiday campaigns in the Times, on New York City bus stops, which was insane. I then started developing a line of my own clutches while also researching how to manufacture leather products, because I met this factory owner in Mexico City. I started building a lifestyle blog, an SEO-based lifestyle blog. I have a digital team in Serbia that helps me because I was trying to drive. I had no money. So everything was always done on the super cheap and on the hustle. And so I had no money to spend on advertising, really no money to spend on anything. And so I was trying to create an organic method to grow my brand through SEO. And so I launched a lifestyle blog while learning how to manufacture leather products in Mexico City. During that time, I got commissioned to paint an 8,500 square foot pool deck in Roosevelt Island. That got written up by Time Out magazine as the second most talked about thing in New York in the summer of 2019. It got written up in Arc Digest Spain. I signed a tile deal with Tile Bar. I designed that shit overnight. We came to market 3 months later. I won Best in Show at the 2 largest hospitality conventions in the United States.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then I got approached by Janovic because of the pool. Janovic is the largest paint supplier in New York and the largest Benjamin Moore distributor in the world. And they own the trademark, the Color Authority of New York. And they approached me as an expert with color. I designed 5 curated color palettes for them and did, 4 45-foot murals for them. If you walk into any Janovic in New York City, you'll see a billboard with my face. I then signed my favorite deal ever. Thank you to Fabrice, the GM of the Eden Rock Hotel in St. Bart's, which was a solo exhibition at the Eden Rock, which is the nicest hotel in St. Bart's. It's one of the nicest hospitality locations in the entire world. They hosted a solo art exhibition. I designed exclusive limited edition clutches for their gift shop. And those collaborations combined really started to put my name on the map. Now, the thing is, though, they had no order and sense. Okay, so what happened? COVID hit. I was new business. I was scared I was going to go broke, still living month to month as a business. And I, up until that point, I was self-funding, and I knew I needed investment, but I put together an investment deck. I wasn't desperate yet. And I wanted to own my company, but then COVID hit and I was really scared. Okay. I had to fire everyone initially. Thank God I've hired everybody back and then some. But I was very scared. And for the first time ever, I took all the various, spaghetti that I threw against the wall to see what stuck. And I put it on a vision board. And I realized that, I had 4 distinct companies. During COVID, I also launched a podcast about resilience and entrepreneurship called Success by Design. I signed 4 additional licensing deals. So I signed a deal with the Raynor Group. They are the largest manufacturers of desk chairs in the United States. And so that is my biggest licensing deal to date. And I'm actually, that I am creating a category in the market that does not exist. And God willing, Office Max or Office Depot will be our exclusive big box retailer, God willing. I signed a rug licensing deal with Rugs America. I have about 60 designs that are going to launch to Wayfair. I signed a puzzle deal with TCG also coming out at the end of the year. I signed a jewelry deal with Louise Alexander. I did another collection for Barry. So basically I created all these things and I put them onto a vision board and I made an investor deck. And I, for the first time ever, saw my company clearly. And I had a mentor, his name is Jeremy Frankel, who really helped me during COVID to teach me about SOPs, because I had no idea what the hell they were. Right?
Yep.
And so I divided my company into 4 distinct companies. I have Elizabeth Sutton collection, fine art, prints, and commercial design work. For example, I am doing the entire art programming for a 500,000 square foot commercial building in Brooklyn called the Whale Building. It is being developed by Nightingale Properties, being designed by studio architects. Perhaps my biggest deal of my entire career, and God willing, that's going to come to fruition next year. It's already underway heavily, but as you know, those things take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Then I have Elizabeth Sutton manufacturing and distribution. So all products that I manufacture and distribute myself, clutches, leather bags, leather belts, napkin rings, drawer pulls, luggage tags, placemats. So I manufacture and distribute all that myself. It's definitely an area of my business that I need to focus on growing. I launched it right before COVID, not exactly an ideal time. Remember, all this is so new. All this is after 2018. So still very new to this and learning. And then I have my licensing deals, which is my biggest area of growth. And I hope I'm pitching a lot of companies. I hope I'm going to close some big deals soon. I just closed a deal for a private kosher wine label, and I have serious things in the works that I don't want to jinx. And then I have my Elizabeth Sutton Media, which is my podcast, I know I'm a very tired woman.
No, I love that.
My podcast, I'm an animal. I'm an animal.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I could sit here and listen to you talk all day. I mean, you've got a lot of really cool things happening. Yeah. I love success. I love success stories. More importantly, I love the journey to massive successful stories. And that's what you're giving us. That's what everybody listening or watching is going to hear, is going to like, holy shit, she is a fucking animal. I mean, she doesn't stop. Does everything. But that's what it takes, right? I mean, success isn't easy. It's hard work. And you got a lot of people in this world that think this is an overnight success. It's not. And you're right. Having those type of things makes you a unique breed of individuals. But one thing that everybody should know is that it's fucking possible. It's possible. And that's what's important. A lot of people don't think that they can become on Elizabeth Sutton, and neither did you at one point. But at the end of the day, you changed your mindset. You decided instantly that you were becoming something more. And that's a really, really cool thing. I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Again, I could talk to you for hours. I know you're so busy. We are grateful to have you here. Thank you for saying yes. We are going to definitely connect after the show for sure. We'll talk about some cool things. But most importantly, man, I'm honored and grateful that you were here. So
100%. I love power women. I was raised by, at one point, my mom was single and always juggled a lot, and she sacrificed everything for me and my siblings. So I don't know. I just have this like special place in my heart for women like you who are just badass and powerful and doing a lot of things, and kind of, went through your struggles and have become super successful. So You're inspiring to say the least.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think it's very important that we don't limit ourselves. I feel like I was raised to think I should limit myself. And I have learned otherwise. We are as limited as we put in our minds. Okay. So if you think big, you can achieve big. And that's the bottom line. And put the work in, both in your career and in yourself. Honestly, I would have zero success in my career had I not put the work into myself. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But I actually attribute that to my success. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to get my brand in front of new people. That's what I depend on for help. So,
well, it's going to be all over, and it's a great show. No, it's a great show. And I'm going to lead by saying this too. Yeah, we're going to go over this. Well, I want to say this as well before we get off. You know, my wife is a homemaker, and when I tell you she works harder than I do, she does. I mean, so you say that I was a housewife and all the pretty luxuries. You've been resilient your whole life. So I just want to say that, because what you did before and after, it's both extraordinary. So you guys can find Elizabeth.
Well, you know what? I don't judge anyone.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't judge anyone who chooses to be a homemaker. If that's fulfilling for them, God bless. It wasn't fulfilling for me. And that's where I ran into problems, right? As long as you're true to who you are and you are fulfilled by what you're doing, you will be happy.
Amen.
But it's the moments where you find yourself not fulfilled that will get you into trouble.
Amen. Yeah, amen. Cool. Well, you can find Elizabeth at Elizabeth Sutton Collection on all the social media platforms. She's got Elizabeth Sutton Collection for her lifestyleblog.com and elizabethsutton.com for her store and all sorts of amazing shit that you guys know that she has said. And I got to tell you stuff, we looked at it, and the art and the work that you do is extraordinary. So please, by all means, know this. Elizabeth Sutton is just beginning, and we are honored to have you here.
Hell yeah. I want Todd to buy the pool table.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh yeah. By the way, I'm really good at pool. You have a $150,000 pool table. I'm really fucking amazing at pool, but unfortunately I'm not spending $150K on a pool table right now, but it looks worth it. I'm going to say that.
Put on layaway.
I put $40,000 into it, and with the table itself is a $12,000 table that I got gifted by Black Billiards in exchange for like social media and press. Yeah. But it's the nicest thing I've ever created.
I saw a picture.
There will be a buyer one day, and as soon as it comes, I'm going to celebrate.
That is awesome. Well, we're honored to have you on. We saw you do the phone thing. We're going to do a little phone thing right now too, because we got to get a little something here. But Elizabeth, thank you for being the beautiful person that you are, being an extraordinary entrepreneur. And Biscuit, we're going to go from your nose first. Perfect. Well, it's whipped around. Nose there you go. And then we're going to go to beauty. So we're going to go to this. And then we're going to go to beauty. There we go.
Oh, she looks so much better than me.
Oh, way better. Elizabeth, thanks for having you on. We were very appreciative.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a blessed day.
Bye-bye.
If you love this guest as much as we did, please follow them on all their social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification for the next Gut Check Uncut.